music. um, so you see the topic. It's late, so um, I don't think too many people are gonna be ready to chop it up about this on a Sunday night. But you never know. But the topic is American women have a weight problem, and I wasn't gonna originally do a discussion about this, but um, I posted something as a joke, both on my Instagram and on my community tabs, of a very small door, and this the comment came from a guy in one of my passport bro groups, and he left the caption, sorry, not comment, caption, saying, um, "Ladies, if you can't get through this door, you don't qualify. I'm sorry, queens." And it's hilarious. A lot of women felt, a few people felt a few some sort of way about it, including some guys who love fat bitches. I'm just gonna keep it completely 100 here. Um, I'm gonna keep it a buck because the guy I had no pity for. Some Jamaican dude on my Instagram was saying, "Well, dude," he said, you must not like thick baddies." I was like, "No, I don't." I said, "Thick is just what black dudes talk about when they're referring to girls who are slightly overweight. They call them thick." And he's like, "So," he said, "Well, I'm sorry, you never experienced a thick gym baddie." I'm like, "I've seen them, but," I was like, "I'm not interested in them. Like, if you're in the gym and you're still thick, you're not." I was like, "You're out of shape." I was like, "If you come to the gym and you can't run 1 mile without hacking up a lung, you're not in shape." What's up, Lisa? Um, he was like, "Well, yeah," but he was like, "How many guys come to the gym and they just bulk up?" Ladies too. He said, people just come there, they bulk up, and they never hit cardio because they're just there for strength and size. I'm like, yeah, I get that, but if you if you just come in there to bulk up, you're not in shape. Like, just getting muscular in itself isn't in shape. Like, your your best metric of someone being of good health is their cardiovascular fitness. So if you can't run a mile and you're muscular, you're not actually physically fit. I was like, don't. And if you don't believe me, I was like, take it up with the military. Like, no one's gonna be impressed that you look like a bodybuilder, and you can't even freaking pass a PT test, an Army PT test, or a Marine PT test, or Air Force PT test. I don't care about Navy. They don't count. Sorry for all you uh, Navy uh, seamen out there, but um, Norm's TV says hello. Jenny says hello. Hidden Truth says what's up. Norm says first like mute. Lisa says I'm subscribed. Cool. That's what's up. Thank you, Lisa. Hidden Truth says how are you guys doing? Adams Baseball Club said I subscribe. Thank you. Appreciate it. Um, by the way, I don't know. Someone reached out to me through my business page on Google, um, saying her name was, I think, April, and she reached out to me by email. So if you're watching, what's up? Um, I responded to your email, so you can, if you want to respond, go ahead. But I appreciate you connecting with me. Um, Bina Tori says hello. What's up? She said, "Stream, keep it up. Thank you." So, guys, yeah. So, like I said, Western women have a weight problem, and so, like I said, the post that I made, you can check it on my community tabs. It's also up on my Instagram. Again, it was meant merely as a joke, but all jokes have a, many jokes have a kernel of truth in them. At least sardonic jokes do. Jokes that have like a sardonic humor means like sarcastic irony. Okay. Um, and anyway, so it's a very small door, and it says, and the guy is saying, "Sorry, queens, if you can't fit through this door, you don't qualify." And it's meant as a joke because so many women are very dismissive of guys saying they don't qualify for them, saying, well, if you don't make a certain amount of money, you don't qualify. If you aren't of a certain height, you don't qualify. So guys have flipped it on them and say, okay, well, if you can tell guys they don't qualify because they don't earn enough or they're not tall enough, then guys can say, hey, if you aren't, if you aren't slim enough, you don't qualify. So I find it equally absurd, but I find it, equal in that regards that if they can have their shallow reasons for rejecting the guys, then guys can have a shallow reason for rejecting them. And like I said, this Jamaican guy and I on Instagram went back and forth about what what is fit, and I told him at the end of the day, I mean, I'm a coach, so I was like, look, yes, I see people going to the gym, they get, they aesthetically they look great, but they're not actually physically fit because one of the best markers of physical fitness is cardiovascular endurance. So again, if you can't run a freaking mile, you're not actually physically fit. I don't care how muscular you are. You can look like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Lou Ferrigno in their heyday, as when they both won Mr. Olympia. You're not fit. Now Arnold was actually fit because he started off as a power lifter before he became a bodybuilder, and he was into overall fitness. Arnold can run. So I'm not shouting anyone out unless you giving me a super chat. So you can forget that shit. What's up, Tactical? What's going on? Alonzo says hi. What's up, Alonzo? Tactical says have a weight problem is wild. Yo, they do. Most look, and I'm trying to be nice, but I'm gonna say this. When I'm talking about American women, I'm talking about particularly black women. Over half, over half of black women are overweight, and the majority of them who are overweight are obese. So Cat 07 007 says Americans have a weight problem. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Indefinitely. Like these women don't even realize, look, like, and again, I'm talking particularly about black women. They go overseas and they're the fattest women there, wherever they go in any other country. Like these guys were recently talking about that who went to Brazil. Like the Brazilian women were like, who are these big women? And they realized these were all American women. Like they were at some party or something like that in Brazil, and I don't know if it was like Rio or Sao Paulo, whatever. Um, and like they're all having fun or whatever, and all these little middle-aged black women came there, and they're all fat. They're all fat, and the Brazilian women were making fun of them. And before you make it a race thing, mind you, most Brazilian, a lot of those Brazilian women themselves are black. In fact, for people who don't know, if you don't travel, or you just don't know much about cultural geography, there are more black people in Brazil than there are in the United States. And again, these women were like, who are these big, where are all these fat women from? And they realized these were all um, American visitors, because the black American men that came to Brazil are after the Brazilian women. They don't want these American women that came down there. But, as the Passport Bro group has grown, there has been a counter group called the Passport Sisters who try to follow these Passport Brothers to where they go just to see what we're up to. So some of them have started going to the DR and Brazil and Colombia, where a lot of these guys go to find women and have fun. Basically, because they want to get with the men who have the wherewithal to travel to these places. Because despite all the shaming that they've done online for the past 2 years on Passport Bros, they realized that these guys who can actually travel are more financially independent and more and of um, better mates than the pookies they have back here in America. Kel Surprise. um, Yet these same women wanted to shame these brothers for leaving the country and finding better mates for themselves, saying, oh, these guys are undesirable and they're broke. If you can travel, you're not broke. So that was just patently false. Then they're saying they're undesirable. Well, maybe to you they are, but to these women overseas, they're not. And so now you got these passport sisters who are going after the passport bros in other countries. Because before then, a lot of these middle-aged black women would go to places like Jamaica and parts of like West Africa and have these men, basically pay these men to have spend time with them. Like how, like, if people don't realize, that's why that book became so big, How Stella Got Her Groove Back, and got turned into a movie. It was based off the author's like some real experiences of the author who wrote the book, How Stella Got Her Groove Back. What she doesn't tell you is that afterwards, that the Jamaican guy that she married uh, later claimed he was gay and he left her. That wasn't going to make it into the movie. But yeah, a follow up, the author said that the guy basically was just using her for her money, and that once he got to America and got his green card, he said he was gay and he abandoned her. Let me change my chat filter here to all messages. Um, Ro Octoberg says Americans are doing a fat. I'm taking it as a typo. Um, but anyway, so yes, Americans have a weight problem, and American women in particular are overweight. Like, they are very entitled. Like, they don't measure up to women overseas. I've been to many places overseas, and most of the women overseas look better than women here in America. Women here in America don't want American men to know that. I'm going to say that again. American women don't want American men to know that women in other countries are more attractive than them. So what they're going to do is they're going to use shame, insults, guilt, and need to be right to keep these guys in check. They're going to make them feel inadequate for wanting to travel to other countries. Not only that, their little simp allies are going to help them do that. their little simp allies who are trying to get some pussy from these bitches are gonna side with these women, saying, "Yeah, you guys are just weak leaving these women. You guys don't have any game. Well, you could get girls here. Yeah, okay, bro. You stay here on the plantation. We'll go travel. We catch flights, not feelings." Yeah. Um, and another group of guys who are also mad that guys are traveling overseas to find better women are the relationship coaches. All these little fake coaches who claim they can make men instantly find any women they want. They're mad because they're losing out when these guys say, "Man, fuck that shit. I'm not investing in learning how to attract mediocre women when I can just go overseas and find better women, and it's going to be a higher return on my investment to do so." So a lot of these, like I said, a lot of these women are fat. They're fat, they're masculine, and they're unfriendly. It's like I said, you can go overseas and even if the woman is not interested in you, they're not rude to you. They don't make it a they don't make it a thing to go out of their way to try to insult you for having audacity to speak up to them. They'll just say, they'll just smile and wave you off, say, "No, I'm not interested," whatever. But they're not gonna go out of their way to roll their neck and wag their finger at you for having audacity to talk to them. That's that that's an American thing, and maybe a UK thing too, because some British women are just as bad as American women, and Australian. Like basically, uh, any sort of Anglophone country, that's English speaking country, it's going to be pretty bad. Like Australia, UK, and particularly the USA. You leave the Western world, you go to Latin America, you go to Africa, okay, you go to East Asia, you go to South Asia, even Eastern Europe, completely different, completely different. Kimber Dupre says, "So American men don't have a weight and hair loss problem, sir. Stop." Again, I, I don't care what you simps think. I really don't care. Like, again, if you heard what I said Americans generally have a weight problem, but we're talking about women here. I don't date men, so I don't give a fuck what men look like, Kemba. At the end of the day, men aren't pursued for how they look. Men are pursued for what they can provide. And this has been the case for since the dawn of civilization. Men weren't pursued for their looks. Men were pursued for what they can provide. I mean, of course, it helps to be attractive as well, of course. But a guy, put it this way, there's no such thing as an ugly billionaire. And I'll say it again, there's no such thing as an ugly billionaire. There's no such thing as an ugly billionaire. So regardless of how the guys look, again, we're talking about the women. But again, I have said that yes, Americans have a weight problem. So I'm referring to both men and women. But we're talking about in the sexual marketplace. In the sexual marketplace, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter as much about the guy's weight. We're talking about women because women's women's value is in their beauty. Rose says Mr. Contrarian, you can come to Amsterdam. You'll see our beautiful girls. Um, I'm familiar with women from the Netherlands. I haven't been there yet. I was supposed to go last time I was in Germany, and we didn't go. I was still in the army at the time, but I am planning on coming back. But I'm not single, so I'm not checking for women in Amsterdam or anywhere else. I'm happily married. I don't. I appreciate it, but I don't need to look for women. I'm not pressed on that issue, and I don't travel merely just to find women. Like that's pathetic. To each their own. Some passport bros specifically travel just to meet women for casual hookups. I don't do that. I'm not traveling halfway across the world just to meet women. Like it has to be something more than just the women. It has to be I actually want to visit this country and see the culture, or I want to work there, or I have friends there and family, stuff like that. But I'm not going to just merely go somewhere just to meet women. There has to be something more to it than just that. So, but yeah, I do plan on visiting Amsterdam though. Kemba, are you retarded? Like, no one's. I didn't ask you whether you were married. I didn't ask you whether you were male or female. I didn't ask you whether you were overweight. You're projecting shit into this conversation that was not had. You need to. I, I understand English is probably not your first language, but I didn't ask you anything about your fucking gender, anything about your fucking marital status, nor about your weight. I don't care. So fall back. Rose says, no, I just mean our girls are best, not big fat blobs. Um, no, 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 I know that. Like I said, as far as I can tell, the Dutch women were similar to the German women. Like I didn't go, like I said, I didn't go to the Netherlands, but when I was in Germany, there were people from all over. There were Dutch people there. There were Turkish people there. Shoot, I even saw some Ethiopian. I even saw like Ethiopians and Asians there. When I was like in uh, Stuttgart in Germany. Yeah, thank you, Ro. He said Kemba. He's talking generally. Like, yeah, I don't know where Kemba thought I was talking about him or her personally. I don't know the person. Sherry says, loved your last show, Trump 2024. Thank you, Sherry. Rose says, yes, import is a big problem. Oh, speaking of what Sherry said, guys, so for you folks who are American, um, guys, I would encourage you to do early voting so you can beat the line, so you don't have to be stuck in any lines on election day. Um, and, in case you live somewhere where something crazy might happen, you don't want to be stuck out there when stuff happens. So I would encourage, just for my American watchers, like probably should do early voting to get past the lines. And, you know, also like, I think some people might be confused, but with early voting, you don't have to sign up. You merely just go to wherever it's the designated early voting center. There's wherever you live, there's probably gonna be multiple places that you can go to within driving distance that you can go to do early voting. So that's my if you choose to vote. That is, if you choose not to vote, that's fine. But I did. Um, so anyway, John Doe says, "Yo, what's up?" Rose says America's having a gun problem. Cannot safe voting. I don't know what that means, but um, we have some gun problems, but that's not going to be an issue on election day. That has nothing to do with voting, bro. Like, I'm telling people to go out to do early voting because that way you can beat the crowd on election. We have an election day, but because it's not a because it's not a holiday, a federal holiday, um, not everyone can get off work for it. Although it is a federal law that every employer must allow their employees time to vote on that day. However, because most people wait until election day to vote, it's going to be a huge crowd. That's why I'm telling people on my platform early voting is better because you don't have to be stuck in a line on election day. You can just go whenever you like. Um, but yeah, the gun violence has really nothing to do with that. When I'm talking about something crazy, I'm just talking about like I'm not talking about like gun violence. I'm talking about something crazy as like maybe like some sort of like political like some sort of political debate or something or political riot or something happens like wherever your voting is set up. Not likely to happen, but I'd rather be able to get in and out when I want instead of waiting on election day to do it. Some people, and then some older people who are less mobile might choose to do mail-in voting like my grandmother did, who's in her 80s, so she can't drive anymore safely, and she can, it's hard for her to get around, so she did a mail-in ballot. The good thing about the mail-in ballots is they also have a digital version, so you can do it like over you can go to their website and do it instead of mailing it in like a physical piece of mail. John Doe says, how did Donald Trump get on Joe Rogan? I thought he said he never been on there. Well, that happened over this weekend. He decided to be on the Joe Rogan podcast. Joe Rogan has a lot of pull. Apparently, Joe Rogan said he has been trying to get what's her name on there as well, Kamala Harris. But that's a topic for another day. Rose says, "Oh, it's not like pew pew wave gun around on election day. Look like no. How old are you, bro? Like, you sound like a like. No offense, you sound like you're kind of young. I don't know what made you think that people would just go on election day waving around guns. This is not the Wild West. Like, no, no. Election day is pretty cordial affair. It's just that you have almost 340 million Americans, and half of them are eligible to vote. So if they all wait till election day, it'll be pretty crowded where they have to go. That's what I'm saying. Early voting is better because then you can go on your own time and not be stuck in a crowd. I mean, yeah, like I said, you sound like you're like 13 or something, dude. Like people don't go walking around with guns going pew pew at during elections. That's ridiculous. You've been watching too many I don't know, too many cowboy movies or something. But anyway, back to the topic. So like I said, guys, yes, America has a weight problem, and a lot of our women are fat. And the funny thing is, they're entitled and think they're like they're very entitled about it. Like they're hoping American men don't see women from overseas and don't know how like how less attractive they are to these women overseas. Like even like compared to Europe, like most of these American women don't compare to these women in places in Europe, like going somewhere like Italy. Um, you know, going to Thailand, South Korea, where they are very image conscious, and they are very image conscious in South Korea. Like these fat women would not would stand out like a sore thumb. Even like in Japan, most of the people are slim, so they would go somewhere like South Korea and I mean or Japan rather. I'm sorry, but both South Korea and Japan and just stand out they because a lot of people hang out in places like Shibuya within Tokyo. Shibuya is like one of the major cities within the Tokyo metro area, and a lot of people go to the bars and the clubs in Shibuya and in Shinjuku, and you can tell even if they're Asian, you can tell they're not Japanese because they're when they're fat. Like you know these are women from overseas. These aren't Japanese women because pretty much all the Japanese women are slim. So John Doe says New Jersey, too many damn Democrats. Well, yeah, that's a blue state. Maryland's a blue state. Again, I'm not talking politics today. I've done that last couple of days, so that's not going to be my topic. Um, when I was having Ask Me Anything Friday, no one participated, so I'm not going to change my subject today just because no one participated on the days that I selected. So, when I had Ask Me Anything Friday, no one showed up. Sorry, I had a late night run, so a little tired. Have some little background music, by the way. Sanctuary of Healing, Deep Relaxation, and Cellular Restoration, I guess. The name of the channel is Healing Frequency Vibrations. John Doe says, my bad, my mistress was acting up. Well, I don't think that's something you should be admitting online because she might see this. Not that I would, do, advocate for that, but. Rose says, why are USA women fat? That's a good question. Thank you, Ro. So first of all, let me make sure this is shown because it wasn't showing it. Um, so Rose says, why are American women fat? Tactical Vice is what topic we on? The topic is American women are overweight. Um, and there's no one magic single bullet to why Western women are American women are fat. There's a couple of reasons. One, generally speaking, is that the food the food that's cheap the food that's most readily available to us is less healthy, and our government gives less regulations on food than in other countries. And when you go to Europe and you go to Europe or Canada, they don't allow stuff in their food that they allow in our food here. Okay, that's number one. So our food is less healthier here. Like we can find healthy food here, but healthy food actually costs more here than it does in other countries. In fact, America is the only country where you'll find fat homeless people. In any other country, when you find people homeless on the streets, they're starving. When I'm in the Philippines, when I'm in Thailand, anywhere in Southeast Asia, in like or when I was in Europe, like when you saw starving people when you saw homeless people on the streets, they were emaciated. Like they were not fat. America's the only place you're gonna see fat homeless people. Okay. He said, "How much for one organic lemon?" I have no idea, dude. I can't calculate the price of that. Um, but uh, but yeah, like the funny thing is, like you go to a supermarket, the organic section or the healthy section is a separate section, and it's like, wait, why is the why is the health food section? Shouldn't it all be health food? Like unless you're going to the section where it's like candy or microwave food, stuff like that. Shouldn't everything be health food? Why should health food be a separate section of the supermarket and everything else? That's suspicious, isn't it? Like Dr. Umar Johnson would say, that's kind of suspicious. But yeah, so that's number one, bro. Is one is our food is less healthier than in other places in the world. Two is that our women are entitled for all the bullshit they talk about feminism and this and that. They enjoy every single right that a man has in this country. Plus, they get benefits that men don't have. And because they're used to guys pursuing them, they think they can look any sort of way and guys will just accept it because they are always desperate men who will fuck anything. Because they are desperate men who will fuck anything that has a hole in it, they they take that to they take that to to well, they infer from that it doesn't matter how they look. That's why someone like Lizzo can feel entitled, because as long as there's some guy with no standards willing to fuck her, she thinks that she's attractive. Rose says a lemon is 0.62 euros per 100 gram here. That's cool. Again, God, I mean, that's reporting. I mean, that's kind of, I get it, but that's not really the point here. The point is basically our food is less healthy overall unless you want to spend more to buy specifically healthy food. Most of our food here, bro, is more processed. I'm not so I'm not talking about like the cost of a piece of produce. I don't you don't really get it. So let me elaborate a little bit more. So when I say our food is less healthy and we have less access to healthy food, what I'm saying is, in one, our food is more processed. Processed mean it's going to have more chemicals and preservatives in them, making them less healthy. Also, depending on where you live, you may have less access to healthy foods like fresh produce and deli meat. People who live in poorer parts of the country have things called food deserts. A food desert is a place where it will be where you can't find like groceries selling fresh food, fresh produce. You only find places that are like selling processed foods or fast food restaurants. A lot of inner cities and poor rural places in the country are food deserts in that way. Bro, what are you saying? Stream doing a poop? What the fuck? Tactical. What is he talking about, bro? Like, am I? Are we both taking that the same way? Because I'm gonna let that one go, bro. But if you say something kind of out of pocket again, I'm gonna have to time you out because that sounds very that is really sus. Like, no. And you keep talking about lemons and apples. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, dude, chill out. Like, I get it, you're not American, but you're saying some weird ass shit. You're talking about stream of poop, and then you asking me about the price of a lemon and an apple. What the fuck are you talking about? Like, chill. You're telling me no, you need to relax. You're the one saying stream doing a poop. That's some weird ass fucking shit. Anyway, so back to the subject, and I'll get back to what you're saying too, Sherry, in a second. Um, but again, so there's there's the issue of access to healthy food. One is you have places, poor places, either in the inner city or rural parts of the country where there are food deserts, which means people don't have readily access to fresh produce. That's one. Two is that a lot of our food contains a lot of um, additives and preservatives wouldn't be allowed in other that wouldn't be allowed in foods in other countries. Third is they charge more for healthy food in in these supermarkets and groceries. But then the other issue is that again, a lot of these women feel entitled that they don't have to be attractive to gain men because they know as long as there's desperate men out there willing to have sex with anything, then they don't have to really try. Tactical, let him go. Like he's saying I'm taken out of context. How does stream a doing a poop taken out of context? You tell me, tactical. Like, are we both tripping? Like, how can we? How could I take something out of context that he wrote? So, I'll get to that in a second, John Doe. All right, give you a second, bro. Let me cook. Let me cook for a second. So, because he wanted an explanation, so I'm trying to do that. So I said, one is lack of healthy access to foods. Two is that women feel entitled that they don't have to look attractive. Three three is that we have now this whole um, issue where in culture where you're not supposed to fat shame people. It's like, no, a little shame goes a long way. A little, not a lot. Like, you shouldn't just make fun of people off the cuff just because they're fat. But when people are fat and they're proud of it, that is a problem. There's nothing wrong with being fat. There's a problem with staying fat. Again, let me say it again so people don't misunderstand me. There's nothing wrong with being fat, but there's a problem with wanting to stay fat. Okay? So you should be able to work on that. And yes, I know there are different people with different body types. Not everyone's going to be slim, but that doesn't mean you have to be obese either. Okay? You shouldn't have to, you shouldn't be starring on the next episode of This Is My 600-Pound Life on A&E or or the Discovery Channel or True TV, whatever whatever channel and that show airs on. Um, and again, like I said, the biggest thing out of all those issues, whether you're talking about the access to healthy food, the desperate men willing to have sex with overweight women, or um, um, or women not willing to exercise, which is another issue. the the main problem is the entitlement, the fact that they think that they are still entitled to be considered pretty because otherwise you're fat shaming. That's the biggest problem, and that gets into the whole reason that a lot of black men don't find black women attractive anymore because the majority of black women are overweight. And of the women who are overweight, most of them are obese. So a lot of men have start leaving the black community in pursuit of other women, and some of them even travel overseas, like I have, to find those women. Tactical says, unless I took that wrong. I don't think so, because I think we both interpreted it the same way. He's like, all of a sudden his English got a lot better. Did you notice that too? Once he started explaining himself tactical, his English got a lot, his grammar suddenly got a lot sharper. Is that is that was am I tripping, or did you notice that as well? Like his English got a lot sharper. That's crazy, right? Like he was speaking broken English at first, and then when he went to explain himself above here, he said, "Oh, your stream was lagging just a moment ago, but you were talking now and you read it out of context, and I'm quoting prices because you claim my food is cheaper, and I was curious to hear a comparison." It's weird that his English got a lot better, but it was broken at first. I'm just saying that's hey, that's suspicious. John Doe says, "Would you date a chubby one?" Um, Generally, no. Like, no. I mean, have I? No. Now, have I smashed a chubby one? Yes. Have I dated one? No. That's a different. And this is something that women don't understand. They think it's because a guy will have sex with them that men still find them desirable, and that's not the case because they don't understand men's behavior. Like a guy will some guys will smash. That doesn't mean they want to have a long term relationship with you, much less marry you. They don't realize that guys put women in different categories. They are the they are the wifey. They are women who are wifey material that you would marry or be in a committed long term relationship with. And then there's ones you would just smash. And so a lot of these chubby girls, some of these guys will smash. But is this someone you will put a ring on? Probably not. So Sherry says we have to protect our Second Amendment. I agree. The reason I'm for the Second Amendment, though, Sherry, is that I think that the Second Amendment upholds the First Amendment, and I don't think a lot of people realize though that I don't realize how some people don't see the conceptual connection between the First and Second Amendments. You need the second to uphold the first, and that's why I do believe in the Second Amendment because I believe in the First Amendment, and I think you can only uphold people's freedoms of freedom of the press, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, uh, freedom to um, of the other sorts specified in the First Amendment, without also having the right to bear arms to protect those very freedoms. That's why I believe in it. So yeah. Uh, Rose says, "Okay, never mind. I'll start my day by okay. I have a good one." Like you said some weird shit, and now you don't want to be called out on it. I'm gonna call you out on some weird shit that you said because you said string doing a poop. That's weird as fuck. You can say I took that out of context if you want, but everyone saw it. Mm-hmm. All right, so just timed out one troll. But anyway, so guys, I'm not gonna stay on long. It's late. I gotta get up early. It's Monday. Um, but yeah, like, but we can. I mean, we can chop it up some more for you guys who are still in the chat room. We can definitely chop it up some more. But yeah, American women have a weight problem. And ignoring the problem doesn't make it go away, nor does trying to make fun of the guys who have an issue with it. Do some guys do like chubby women, some guys like thick women, whatever. But here's the fact of the matter. Most of the guys who love fat women, that is a fetish. That is not the norm. That is a fetish. Guys who love fat women is a fetish. That is not the norm. That is a fetish. And like I know this one guy. Uh, well, he's actually no, he's not a guy anymore. He's now a trans woman. We worked together when he was still a guy. Um, he liked fat women, so I already knew something was up with him, especially when he was always talking about his little rainbows, Skittles thing, and I didn't really get the connection at the time. But he was married to some fat woman. He's now dating a fat girl, although he is now a trans woman. And I told him like I don't find Baltimore women attractive because most of them are fat. He was like, well, he was saying, he actually loves fat women, but he said he can admit that now. He said he didn't used to want to admit it because it wasn't something that most people would admit to. And I was like, yeah, I mean, if that's your thing, that's your thing. So, you know, I ain't have anything against him for that. But it kind of makes sense now, looking at it, the fact that he's made his transition, that that he didn't have a norm his he didn't have a normal attraction to women, because like I said, an attraction to fat women is a fetish. That's not a normal thing. And what's up, Officer Lumen? He said, hey, sorry I'm late, had to deal with an important call. No problem. I'm not gonna stay on long anyway because it's late. But yeah, my topic, Lumen, was I was saying that too many American women have a weight problem, but they still think they're entitled to the best men. And then, like I said, they'll try to shame guys for going overseas to find more desirable women. They'll either say, "Oh, these guys are broke. That's why they're going overseas." First of all, if they can travel overseas, they are definitively not broke because it costs money to travel. So, just from that alone, that's pure cap. They're just straight capping, saying these guys are broke. Guys who are broke don't travel. Guys who are broke are the pookies that they fuck, and then complain when these guys have little bastards by them and don't take care of them. Um, then, or they'll say these guys are undesirable. Maybe some of them are undesirable to these women and mainly that's because what they're not 6 foot tall or whatever. Who cares? The fact of the matter is the majority of men in America are not 6 feet tall. Like the average is 5'9". That's the average. And most of these women want guys not just 6 feet tall, but they were saying shit like 6'2", 6'4". I'm like, do you realize how small of a segment of the male population that is? The guys who do fit that, who are both like 6'2", making well over six figures, and are physically fit and don't have kids, these guys aren't are going to be very choosy in the women they pick because they can afford to be, because this they are the minority. So 80% of there's like 80% of the women want 20% of the guys, and those 20% of the guys are gonna have the pick of the litter for whatever women they want. They're not gonna pick fat women, women who have kids, um, women who are masculine and think it's slavery to cook for their man. Like Lumen says, I don't know why, but I'll be seeing the fastest women with the most best boyfriends ever known. Oh, fattest, I think. It says 6'2". Oh hell no, that's just asking for too much. No, they literally Lumen. I'm sure you've seen this online too, bro. They literally be saying shit like, "Yo, man has to be like at least 6'2" or 6'4". He has to have like a six pack. He has to be making well over six figures because I make well over six figures. Half of them are lying about that shit, by the way, because the the average the average income for guys in this country is about 50,000, and for women it's about the same. It's actually a little bit less. So all these women claiming that they are making well over six figures, so the guy has to as well. They're capping. But besides that, like I said, they all wanting these guys who are like 6 foot, 6'2", 6'4", whatever. That's not even the majority. Like that is a minority of men. That's you literally like I can't remember the actual numbers, but that's probably like 20% of men or less in the general population. And then you gotta remove the ones are already who already have women or don't desire women. um, so that's crazy. Like I said, so the biggest problem with fat women in America is that they're entitled. Like I said, they have this Lizzo complex where they think even though they're fat or even morbidly obese, that they still deserve the best men. Like, no, you don't. Like, you are like their sexual marketplace value is very low, and they don't realize it. And they think just because a desperate man will have sex with them, that they are still attractive, not realizing that they are desperate men who will hit anything with a hole in it, but doesn't make them want to take these girls anywhere where they will be publicly seen, or even if they would, that they would have serious relationships with these women. As far as you were saying, like some of these fat women be having the best boyfriends. It, I would say this: were they fat when they first started though? Because maybe they got fat in the relationship. Because some women will let themselves slide while they're in a relationship because they get comfortable, but doesn't mean that they started out fat when they first got with the guy. I don't know. I can't speak for New York, but again, this is why there's a lot of guys, especially in the black community, who are no longer dating black women because the majority of black women are overweight. The and this is the this is a statistical like fact. This is not me making some shit up to be rude because I wouldn't say anything to be rude, but the majority of black women are overweight, and the majority of those women who are overweight are obese. Like I said, it, when these passport bros were there chilling in Brazil, it was these passport sisters that went down there to have fun as well, and all the Brazilian women would make fun of them because they were talking to the Black American men saying, "Who are why are all your women up there? Why are all your women fat?" So, uh, Loomis says, "Plus, why does height matter to a woman?" Eh, it's just an evolutionary thing. Like just like like we desire slim, curvy women, they desire taller, muscular men because they feel more secure with a guy who's tall. I don't knock them for their preference. My problem is they think they think only they can have preferences and men can't have preferences. And that was the whole point of my joke on my community tabs was how women always shame men for not being tall enough. So men have in the red pill space have started shaming women for being not slim enough. So in the picture it says, "Sorry, queen, if you can't fit through this door, you don't qualify." and I got some slack from that um, on my Instagram um, and on that community tabs on here on on sorry on YouTube. Agatha left a comment. She was like, "Oh no," she was like, "She's like, looks like my sister and I'm missing out on brothers." And I'm like, well, first of all, I was like, Agatha, you already got a man, and two, what I was like, what if I was like, you and your sister not missing out on me because I've been married for the last 7 years anyway to an Asian woman, so I've never been available in the marketplace. But she was saying a lot because she was saying a lot of us queens are thicker. I'm like, yeah, that's a problem. Too many black women are fat, and a lot of men are move like they don't know. Well, actually, she's 26. She should know. Like, um, Gen black dudes who are Gen Z and the younger guys, the Gen Alphas, I do not see them with black women or black girls at all. Like, I don't see these Gen Z and Gen Alphas brothers with black girls. A lot of them are with white women, Latinas, Asians. Like around my grandmother's neighborhood, which is like predominantly black, even more. It's even it's more black than this neighborhood here, and this is somewhat a predominantly black neighborhood, but there's been a lot of people moving in the neighborhood who are Asian, Latina, and even white. But around my grandmother's way, it's like over I would say 90% black, over 90% black if you're counting like all the West Indian and Jamaican people. It's well over 90, like 95% or so black. But when I see these guys with girls, the younger guys, like these guys, like these teenage dudes, they were all walking with like white girls or Spanish girls, whatever. I didn't see them. I didn't really see them with black girls. Loomis says women nowadays have specific interests. Yeah, he said now if you're skinny and we start our relationship and next day you built like Shaquille O'Neal, I'm out of there. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking about like over time, like they have kids or whatever, which is still is an excuse because you can still like, I encourage my wife like, hey, stay fit. And I tell her I'm not telling her to stay fit just so she looks better, but for her own health because a huge health problem in the Filipino community is diabetes. So I'm telling her you should stay fit because you don't want to have diabetes. So I appeal to her that way that one of the biggest reasons to stay fit is to avoid, you know, you know, heart disease and diabetes. And like I said, a lot of these women who are overweight, they do have diabetes heart heart disease. Some of them have bad. A lot of them have like bad joints. Like I don't know how many of these fat girls I've talked to who talk about they can't run because they got bad knees, or I'm trying to teach them martial arts and they talking about their joints hurt. I'm like, God damn, like, and I'm not talking about like women in their 40s or 50s. Like these are women in like 20s and 30s talking about their joints hurt. I'm like, you are too fucking young for your joints to be hurting like that. Like you need to lose weight. And they was like, but my knees hurt, so I can't really exercise. You can walk. You can walk. Do a daily walk. So it's like they're too lazy to exercise, and then it just feeds a negative feedback loop. Like you're out of shape, so then you start feeling, bad about it, and not exercise, and which leads to you not exercising and overeating, which leads to worse health, which then leads you to have the inability to exercise, and it just keeps feeding itself. No pun intended. um, Illuma says, so what if you what if you tall and stuff, but you skinny as a twig? That's a problem too. If you're underweight, but like I said, for most Americans, that's not an issue. Most Americans, whether male or female, the issue is being overweight, not underweight. There will be some folks who are underweight. If so, I mean, that's a different health issue. But I mean, for today, I'm just talking about like people who are overweight because that's by and large the majority of the health problem here in America. It's not underweight people, but overweight people. Um, Tactical advice is burn some calories and walk. Yeah, like I tactical. That's my suggestion to a lot of these folks who always be like, "Well, I can't run like you. My knees hurt. I'm out of shape, or I don't have time." And I'm like, just go for a walk. Go for a daily walk. And usually they'll be like, "Yeah, I can do that." I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool." I was like, "Go for a 10-minute walk, 15-minute walk." I was like, "Look, a 15-minute walk will will be like a like preventative medicine from like heart disease and diabetes. Like just take a 15-minute walk." Like my cousin who was complaining about her diabetes. Like I love my cousin and all, but she's lazy. Like she's overweight. We're talking about her diabetes and criticizing me for eating a lot of carbs. I'm like, look, as a distance runner, I'm an endurance athlete, so I have to carb load. So I know what I'm doing if I'm eating a ton of rice and a ton of noodles. I'm carb loading. This is gonna all get burned off. But you have diabetes, which was easily preventable, especially when you work in law enforcement and you used to be an all-American athlete back in high school. Um, like, and you have a dog, so that's the perfect excuse to go out for a walk. Walk the dog, but she doesn't even walk the dog. Instead of walking a dog, they just take the they just let the dog run around in the backyard instead of taking the dog out for a walk. It would be good for both of them, and then complain that you complain about you got about what type of food you need to eat, but literally you're eating like fast food every day, like eating buckets of fried chicken, eating fucking pizza, eating Burger King, eating Popeye's chicken. Like how how are you concerned about what you eat and you're literally eating shitty food every freaking day? Luma says I have a friend in the police department that is 5'4" and is amazing at his job. It's embarrassing to the rest of the PD. Yeah, man. I mean, it was a lot of guys in the military that were short. A lot of those dudes were like 5'4", 5'5", 5'6", 5'7". You know, I'm the average height. I'm about 5'9", 5'10", but still. And so, like I said, one of the things these guys go overseas and they find themselves seen as attractive to these women because these women overseas, they still want men. Like almost all women want guys who are taller than them, but overseas they don't require you to be well over 6 foot to be taller than them. These bitches here are crazy. Like the average height for a woman here is like what, I'm gonna say 5'5", something like that. And it's like you're telling a guy who's like 5'8" he's too short for you, and you're 5 foot tall. That doesn't make any sense. Like you can see, like if you don't believe me, watch one of these YouTube shows. Was this Pop the Balloon or Find Love? And almost every time the guy comes out and he's under 6 foot, they will automatically start popping their balloons, saying he's too short. And the guy will be like, "Well, how tall are you?" And she's like, "Well, I'm 5'4". He's like, "Look, I'm 5'10". She's like, yeah, but that's still too short for me. You can't make this stuff up. So the same guy who's like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10", will go overseas and find women on his program, especially in East Asia, where most of these women tend to be pretty short anyway. He'll find like a little cute Japanese girl who's only like 5'1", or some Filipina, same height, or a Chinese girl, or whatever. And to her, he's tall, but it's only American women that want you to be like the size of an NBA player. But again, I'm not going to begrudge them for their preference for tall men, but fair play. So if they want to say, well, men have to be a certain height, well, they have to be a certain weight. Fair is fair. If they want men of a certain height, then men are going to require them to be of a certain weight. And all of a sudden they get mad. It was like, oh, that is wrong. You're body shaming. I'm like, your body, and they uh it seems logic has fallen out of public education. It's like you're doing they don't realize they're body shaming too when they require guys to be a certain height. No, it's not the same thing. I'm like, yeah, it is the same thing. A guy can't change his height. You can change your weight. Well, he can get surgery. And I want to dispel this whole thing about getting surgery to become taller. First of all, that is an that is a risky procedure. It is not guaranteed to work. It can actually cause more problems than it solves. And it's a very painful process that takes over a year or two to do, where they literally have to break your leg bones and put a brace on it and let it grow, and within the interstitial spaces more material grows, making the bone longer and therefore make you taller. But if it's not done correctly, it can actually work in the reverse and make you shorter than what you started off as. Hey, Miss Needle was she said nobody should break their legs for anyone like that. What the hell? I agree. I agree, Miss Needle. How are you today, my beautiful German friend over here? I'm sorry, guys. I miss Miss Needle. That's it, right? I miss Miss Needle. Okay. But yeah, no. But Miss Needle, these women are ridiculous. Like they're trying to compare losing weight to a guy doing elective surgery on them, and they're completely different. Like you can lose a bit of weight, and no one's saying they gotta like be like turn themselves into like a supermodel. Just saying, hey, if you are a 5'4" woman, there's no way you should be like 200 pounds. At 5'4", you shouldn't even be 180 pounds. It's like they weigh more than a man at the same height. Like if a woman weighs more than a guy at the same height, they're overweight. Because they would try to claim they're not. I'm like, yes, you are. Like when I used to date online before, we had ways like back in the old days, like in the early '90s. I mean, like the late '90s, like Yahoo. If you like, like on Yahoo or whatever like that, the Yahoo chat rooms and stuff like that, and I can ascertain how big someone is by them telling me their height and weight, because I know if you're telling me you're 5'3", but you're telling me 175 pounds, I know you're overweight, because there's no way at 5'3" you should be 175 pounds, because a man shouldn't even be 175 pounds at 5'3". Miss Needle says there's a girl in our country that did that for her narcissistic husband, and it was brutal and hard. It it ruined it ruins bodies. It does. Like You talking about getting the height surgery, yeah. If someone's going if someone's going to get the height surgery, they shouldn't do it for another person. They should be doing it for their own like confidence, like their own for their own personal growth, not to please someone else. That should be the last reason you should do it, because you're not even guaranteed to be with that person in the future. Whereas the surgery you're doing on yourself is permanent, and it can have permanent damage if it goes wrongly. So that's definitely not something you should do just to please an individual person. Luma said I had lots of girls in elementary and girls that were taller than me, had a deeper voice, and could probably bench press me. And my family at that point, I was the girlfriend. Miss Neal says both should be healthy. That's a part of attraction. Like Miss Neal says, "Oh no, Lumen, but don't worry. There's different preferences out in this world." He said, "Yep, she had it done. Wait, how did she get it done twice? I thought you could only do that once, like do that sort of height surgery, because like I said, they break your so they're breaking the lower leg bone, and what they do is they take a brace and they stretch it out so that the 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 that more material will grow within that bone plate, and they do it over like 6 months to a year. I think it can go up to like 2 years. The whole process can take up to 2 years, and it's really not worth it, especially if you're an athlete. Because if you're an athlete, you're not going to be able to use your legs the same afterwards. So for me, being a martial artist, since I kick, I kick and I run, I would not do that surgery because I know I won't be able to run and kick this like I used to if I get that surgery, because it's permanently damaging that bone to make it grow. Miss Nina says no, she had her upper leg and lower leg broken. Oh, okay. See, I didn't even know they did the upper leg. I thought it was only the lower leg they do. So now they're doing. So now they also do the upper leg. Cause when I first heard about it, they said it was the lower leg they work on. And to break the upper leg, that's really painful because the thigh bone is the strongest, is like one of the strongest bones in the body. Like the part of the thigh bone, like I remember this from anatomy and physiology class, it is actually stronger than steel. A lot of people don't know that the the, the femur bone, that part on the part of the femur bone is stronger than is literally stronger than steel. So for them to have to shatter that, there's no way in the world. Missy says first lower, then a year later the upper leg. She had balance problems and couldn't walk. Exactly. That's what I said. If you're an athlete, it's not worth it because you're not going to be able to use those your legs the same after you do that surgery. So if you're an athlete, it's not worth doing it for for a guy. For a guy, if you're a short guy but you're an athlete, it's not worth doing that height surgery because you're not going to be able to use your legs the same. Officer Lehman says, if I got height surgery as an officer, my shift would get wrecked. He said, yeah, man. I it, the procedure's not the procedure really is not worth it unless you're one very short and two you are not an athlete, because if you're an athlete, it's going to put an end to your to your days as performing as an athlete. Miss Nita says, officer, don't change your legs, change the girlfriend. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You gotta get you a Miss Needle. I'm joking, but um, she's right. So, but yeah, like I was saying, Miss Needle, for the topic, I was like, yeah, too many American women are overweight, and they don't think it's a problem because there's always desperate men willing to have sex with them. But what they don't realize is that men put women in different categories when it comes to the sexual marketplace. Like there are women whom you, with whom you're, whom you will smash, but that's it. And then there's women you will actually be in relationships with or marry, and the stipulations goes up. Like there's women you will smash, women you would date, and women you would marry. It's like they don't get they they mistakenly think that just because guys will smash them, that means they're desirable, and they're not. Guys will smash anything that has a hole. So, and the other thing is, then they want to shame men who leave, who say like leave the country to find other women, or in the black community, these black women will try to shame black men who leave who leave the black community because they don't find these women attractive anymore. And that's happening a lot in the black community. Like, and not, but just not in the black community, America as a whole, by 2030, their their predictions by 2030 did a lot of American women will be single and childless. So if you want to invest in anything, you might want to invest in stuff dealing with pets, with dogs and cats, because it's probably gonna be a lot more people buying dogs and cats in the next 10 years. Um, Miss Neal says, I think America and other countries do have a general obesity problem, not just women. Oh no, no, no! I mentioned that earlier today as well in the stream. I said Americans in general are overweight, but when I'm talking about But when I'm talking about in the sexual marketplace, Miss Needle, I'm saying it matters more that women are fat because overall, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but overall, women aren't pursuing men for their for them being attractive. They're they're pursuing men who they find will be good good to them and be able to be provide for them. Whereas men are more attracted to women for their beauty. Beauty is their cachet. For the most part, women's beauty is their cachet. For men, it's their ability to protect and provide that is their cachet. Officer Loomis says, I told my friend who was 5'4" to get height surgery and not forcing but recommending them. And he said he reported my higher ranking officer and he reported my higher ranking officer for it. Wow. I wouldn't recommend that to someone because, like I said, being he's a cop, that could ruin his career. Because, like I said, you it ruins your legs. Yeah, it's like it makes you taller, but it but long term it does damage to your legs. It's not worth it to me. He said, but if he be calling the radio when he gets stuff in a toy box, I ain't responding for shit. Yeah, man. Uh, like I said, most people don't realize that the height surgery is actually very volatile. Like it's it's like I don't think people understand that just because people have heard of it, they don't realize that this is not a sure thing. It's still a very risky procedure. It's not like getting your tonsils removed or um, you know, or getting your appendix removed because you have appendicitis or something. Like going through undergoing height surgery is a very risky procedure. It's not, and so like I said, it's not worth it. Even if it does, and even if it does work correctly, um, like I mean, at best, it'll heighten you by like 4 or 5 inches. which for for some parts of the body, 4 or 5 inches is a lot, but we're not talking about that. But yeah, when it comes to height, like you're gonna go through like 2 to 3 years of extreme pain, and you, you need to be able to have a job where you don't have to, like, you'll be able to cover the cost of this. Not to mention a job that won't mind, you won't be able to make it there to the office for a substantial amount of time as you heal. Um, and like I said, if all goes right, you might grow 4 or 5 inches in height, but your legs will probably not be as strong as they were prior. And like I said, the procedure can go wrong where you actually def- cause a permanent deformity to your legs. It's not really worth it. Ms. Neal says also rather someone not as tall and healthy who can protect than someone who literally cripples his body just to please someone. Exactly. Like I said, if I were to do it, it would be for my own self improvement, whether psychological or physical, whatever. But I'm not gonna do it just to please a person or please a woman. That would be the last reason I do that. G- Generally, a guy should do nothing to please a particular woman unless it's his wife, and that still is a matter of degree. But you should not be, as a man, you should not be doing anything to please a woman. You should be doing it to better yourself. Like, you should dress well because when you dress well, you're treated better. You should stay fit because it makes you healthy and more confident. Um, you should speak well and be articulate because it makes you communicate better and can and provide you better economic and social opportunities. All of these will attract women as well, but that should not be the primary reason for doing those things. um, Officer Loomis says, I wonder how the world's tallest man would be if he got height surgery. Well, the world's tallest man was like in the Guinness Book of World Records. I think he was like 9 foot tall, and there's no way they would have allowed someone that tall to get that sort of surgery because it would have been too risky. But I think the tallest man in the Guinness Book of World Records, I think he was like 9 foot, 9 foot one, something like that. And a lot of guys that over that are 7 foot and taller tend to have tend to have um, um, tend to die at an earlier age because at that height you have you increase health complications because of one because of the pressure one because of the pressure on your spine, and two because of other things along with like your cardiorespiratory health. So people like 7 foot and above tend to have a die at an earlier age. And the guy who was like I think he was like 9 foot one or something like that. I think he died in his 30s or 40s, something like that. Um, Miss Nita says Lumen he already has probably issues if he's usually tall that often coincides with health issues and can even be caused by tumors and other things. Yep. Also, Lumen says I know I just a little idea in my head. He's saying and Miss Nita says he ain't gonna fit through any door. That's what she said. Miss Nita says, but he will be easy to find in the store. LOL. Officer Lumen says, imagine him in the men's bathroom. Miss Needle says, and he won't drown in a swimming pool. Actually, you can still drown. Well, you can still drown in a swimming pool even if you're tall. Like you can be 6 foot tall and drown in a 3 foot swimming pool if you're vertical. You because I mean, you know, Miss Needle said, "Oh, haha, no, not the men's bathroom." Miss Needle says it won't be a fun existence, I think, and if he got 6 toes. uh, What if you have two? Never mind. But yeah, um, but yeah, I, I I can't look that up right now. But yeah, I think the tallest guy in the Guinness Book of World Records, I think he was like 9'1", and I'm pretty sure he didn't have a comfortable existence. Off Limit says, bro could have the best Halloween costume, aka Slender Man. Missing his also, that's for sure. I have not seen that yet. I've just started. I'm about to just start the Terrifier franchise this week. I started with watching All Hallows Eve, but I wasn't paying attention to it because I was cooking while I was watching it. So I'm gonna rewatch that because that's where I think that's the first movie in which Art the Clown appears is All Hallows Eve. There's All Hallows Eve Part Two, but that one doesn't feature Art the Clown in it. Um, because but Terrifier, which is the spinoff, became its own franchise separate from All Hallows Eve. So I'm gonna watch that this week instead of watching Halloween like everyone else does, like every year, like Halloween. This year, I'm gonna watch Art the Clown and finish watching my foreign horror films from like Indonesia because there's still a bunch of those I have to watch. This news says he got to have all custom clothes and imagine how fast he would run. Actually, I don't think he would run fast at all, Mr. News. Like I said, I think it would be so much. His center of gravity would be so off that it would. I think it would actually make him awkward. I actually think it would make it would I think it would make him awkward athletically to be like over like 8 foot tall or you know. Mr. says the Nephilim come to mind. Most people won't know what the Nephilim. Well, I don't know how many people read their Bible, but yeah, most people may not know of the Nephilim. There was also like the angel of God in the one particular text in the Old Testament that stood above up well above the entire city that was that came there to destroy it. I don't think people remember that tale, but the Nephilim were a different thing because they would have been like they probably being that they were angelic creatures like they wouldn't have had they wouldn't have had the problems of a mortal person with their physicality at that height. But a regular person, they would have issues. Matter of fact, there was a ancient human species that were known. I think it might have been Homo gigantus or something like that. But they were actually known to be these very tall early human um, hominid species, but they didn't last long because part of the problem was their height was didn't make them more fit in their particular their their height didn't give them a selective fitness in their ecological niche, which is basically just a fancy way of saying that um, it didn't help them survive. Officer Limit says, speaking of customs, he said, guess what? My coworker was 5'4" showed up in last Halloween. He said, bro pulled up in a Chucky costume. At the office, though? Wouldn't that be like kind of, I don't know, showing up as a serial killer? May not be the best move on Halloween because I'm pretty sure on Halloween you probably are gonna actually have to deal with like psychos on Halloween, especially in the city. Miss Nita said in the film we're half angel, half human. Yeah, no, I know. She said, yeah, true. They had the strength for their build. They were they were considered they were considered abominable by, but you also remember, Miss Neal, they were considered abominable by God because these these were the children of angels who came down to earth to have sex with humans, and this was considered an atrocity. This was one of the reasons that God ended up well in the this is why in the Bible, you know the you know the God of Abraham decided to wipe out the entire human race except for Noah and his family because he thought that all these atrocities happened on the face of the earth were abominable and a sin. So these Nephilim were wiped out, according to those biblical tales. So Luna says, "Well, we had a little Halloween party at the police department." Yeah, I know. What I'm saying that's cool. I was just saying, showing up as a serial killer is kind of ironic, being that you'll probably have to like deal with serial, probably like a higher amount of those sorts of weirdos on around Halloween time. Messina says, "I know fallen ones." Yes, I know. He said, Messina says, "Yes, the genetic issue." Yeah, yeah. See, atheists know their Bible. But yeah, well, like I said, the biggest problem with these fat women in America isn't just that they're fat; it's their entitlement. Like I said, they think it's nothing wrong with being fat, with staying fat. Like I said, it's nothing wrong with being fat. It's a problem with wanting to stay fat. And like I said, they are entitled, and they will tell each other that they're all tens. Like, no, bitch, you're not a 10. Excuse my harsh language. No, you're not a 10. Like, you, you're morbidly obese. You can't be a 10. And like I said, this is way too prevalent in the black community. This is why a lot of black men aren't attracted to black women anymore. Some are, many are, and some of these guys have even been taught to like thick women. Like these guys. So in the black community, these guys who prefer fit women will be told, "Oh, you just want some little skinny bitch." Yeah, I do. I do. Sorry. Yes, I do. I want me a Miss Needle. That's what I want because I don't want Lizzo. Okay. And so because most of these black women are overweight, and the ones who are overweight, most of them are obese. These overweight women think that they are the norm now, and that these the fit women that these women are just obsessed about their bodies or whatever, and that these guys who pursue them must are insecure because they can't handle a real thick woman. Like the the mind games that goes on here. And but a lot of guys aren't having it. They were like, "Yeah, whatever you say, I'm getting with Becky. I'm getting I'm getting with Maricita. Well, I'm getting with Ling Ling." So Officer Luna says, "Well, yeah, there was a 51-year-old man who essayed 11-year-old girl in last Halloween." He said, "Lucky we had a unit on standby." Yeah, that's Miss Neal says, "Oh my, that's sickening." Yeah. He said, "But the girl's okay. She was sent to the hospital and survived, and now is with therapy." Trust me, she's not okay. She may be coping, But an experience like that, she's not okay. I'll just say that she's not okay. He said, "Good." Miss Nina says, "Oh, good to hear. Really glad she got out alive." She's gonna have, well, like I said, yeah, definitely good she got out alive, but she's gonna have emotional scars from that. Definitely. So that's yeah. Anyway, I don't want to go down that path. That's kind of morbid. Um, but yeah, like I said, my like I said, this is generally a problem for all Americans, and it's generally a problem with all American women. But this is this issue is most salient in the black community because, like I said, the majority of black, and I didn't even know this was true until I started realizing it, because when I so when I came moved back to Baltimore, I just assumed all these overweight women. It was just Baltimore because Baltimore women aren't known for being attractive. I'm just gonna be blunt about that. Baltimore women aren't very attractive overall, and but what I noticed was guys all over the country would complain about the same things guys here in Baltimore complained about, which was the women seemed less attractive and they were fat. And I was like, and I was telling one of my homeboys, I thought this was just a Baltimore issue. He said, no, this is not a Baltimore issue at all. He said, like, he said, man, this is all black women. And I started noticing that, like, the majority of black women are overweight. And of the majority who are overweight, many of them are also obese. So a lot of men are either just tacitly accepted that and started dating these bigger women, or many of them, especially the younger ones, have stopped dating black women unless they're from overseas, like Dominican Republic or Brazil. Officer Loomis says the man received a $400,000 fine and a death penalty. Uh, Sounds about right. Miss Nia says, "Is it a cultural thing like eating culture in the black community?" I have no idea. Just asking. No, no, no. That's a perfectly good question. Thank you for asking me. It makes it easier when people ask me questions. So I was telling this Dutch guy early in the chat, Miss Needles, the same stuff. So I'm gonna repeat it. He was a little bit of an incel, so I don't know what was up with him because dude was asking me what's the price of apples and lemons and shit, and then he said stream doing a poop. I'm like, what the fuck? And like I was like, what what are you talking about? He tried to say, oh, you took this out of context. Like, I didn't take it out of context. You guys can scroll all the way up if you don't believe me. The guy said stream doing a poop. And then, he tried to claim that I took it out of context because the video was going in and out. Like, no, ain't no way I took that out of context. But anyway, yes, part of the problem is eating though, definitely, because like I was saying, here in America you have better access to unhealthy food than you have access to healthy food. And I was saying it's funny that if you go to a supermarket, Miss Needle, there's like a section for healthy food, and that doesn't make sense. Like, if you go to a supermarket, shouldn't all the food be healthy? Why is there a separate section just for healthy food? Like, it should be a separate section for the unhealthy food. Like, there's the section for candy, there's the section for microwave food, there's the section for like, like processed canned foods. But no, the stuff they allow, the stuff they allow to be done to food in America is disallowed in most other Western Western nations. If you go to Canada, if you go to the UK, if you go to Germany and France, they don't allow the sorts of additives and preservatives in their foods that they allow here in America. So that's one thing. The food is less healthy. Two is that the food, healthy food, costs more here than less healthy food. And then third is, depending on where you live, you might have less access to healthy food. Like there are places here in the country, Miss Needle, called food deserts. A food desert is a place, say like in the inner cities, like in the ghettos, or in parts of the rural um, parts of the country where it's hard to find fresh produce and fresh meat. So you have to buy either foods that's like highly processed, or you have to go to like a like a fast food restaurant or takeout to buy food. So these are called food deserts. So that's another thing. Because as I was saying, like America's the only place, probably one of the only places you'll go to where you'll find fat homeless people. If you go to anywhere else in the world, more than likely, if you find homeless people, they're going to be emaciated and like starving. But here, you can find fat homeless people, and that's only here in America because it's cheaper to buy unhealthy food than it is to buy healthy food. So yeah, part of it is eating. The other thing is black women don't like to exercise. One of the reasons they don't like to exercise is because they don't want to sweat out the chemicals in their hair. Most of them have processed hair, or they have weaves, and they either have processed hair, like through perms, or they wear like wigs and weaves, or stuff like that. So a lot of them don't want to sweat because they don't want to ruin their hair, and then, or they just don't want to exercise because they're lazy. Okay. And so like even when I go to the gym and I find black women there, usually the usually the usually the fat women in the gym are all black. Like most people in the gym tend to be more fit than the general population, but even in the gym, most of the black women are fat, which is just crazy because they don't come there that often, or they probably don't work out that long. But I commend them. I always, I'm always happy to see them in the gym because at least they're making an effort. But yeah, that's part of it. And then the third part may be just genetic. Like people don't realize, like there is a genetic component to obesity, especially when you think of there's a particular uh, hormone or protein that's connected to obesity, because they've tested this in knockout mice. Knockout mice are um, are you know a type of research animals where they call them knockout mice because they genetically knock out certain genes to to alter the animals for the purposes of research. So they call them knockout mice. So like I said, it's partly cultural, it's it's partly social economic, and it's partly genetic. But despite those reasons, despite all those issues, they can still take they can still take the initiative to go exercise and to go learn about proper nutrition. They still have the ability to do that by taking personal accountability. And again, they don't have to, but what the consequences are, a lot of the more a lot of the men they would find more desirable are going to pass up on them and go off to find them a Miss Needle or find them a Mrs. Contrarian instead of them. So, um, I'm missing this is or just a way of more acceptance of being obese or even financial disadvantage. She says I've seen shows where like eating a all you can eat is cheaper than cooking from scratch. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, Miss Needle. Bad food is cheaper here than healthy food. I mean, it's true. I mean, I went to all you can eat place for my birthday, but again, I hadn't been to all you can eat place since before the pandemic. So I hadn't I hadn't been to an all you can eat place since like 2019. So that was like the first time I went to all you can eat place in like 5 years. And I earned it because I had just ran 23 kilometers, like over a half marathon that day. So I treated myself on my birthday to an all you can eat. Well, my mom did, so she treated me to that. Officer Limit says local gym or private in New York. It depends where you go. He said, but all I should say, local gyms in New York, mostly in the hood, and crime is very booming down there. And don't even get started on the public bathrooms and the cheap equipment. Miss Nia says, are they legal gyms? Officer Limit says some of them. Well, she says, got it. Well, no. So what I'm saying is like, I'm talking about like Planet Fitness guys. I'm not Planet Planet Fitness is the McDonald's of gyms. You can find a Planet Fitness everywhere, and they're cheap. It's like you can get a Planet Fitness um, monthly plan for $15 a month. That's pretty cheap. People pay more for that than on a meal on any given day. Yeah, Planet Fitness. Like my friend is an Olympic level lifter. He goes to Planet Fitness because it's convenient, and then he has his own weights set up in his home for his personal workout, but he also goes to Planet Fitness every week. You can go to a Planet Fitness for like $15 a month. Is really no excuse that no one can make the time or effort to get in shape. Or you can just throw on a pair of running shoes and go jogging 3 to 5 times a week. There's really no excuse not to stay fit. There's really no excuse. Like I said, you can just throw on some jogging shoes. I mean, some running shoes and go jog 3 to 5 times a week. You can go to your local Planet Fitness, and that's like going to be like $15 a month. And those Planet Fitness are open 24 hours, except on holidays. Ms. Neal says you don't need a gym to get in shape. You need knowledge and discipline. Well, that's the thing, Ms. Neal. A lot of people don't know how to work out and don't know how to start. So going to the gym is the perfect thing for them. But I completely agree. I don't. Most of my workout is not at the gym. Like I go 2 or 3 times a week, but I work out at home every day. I do my road work. I run, shadow box, stretch, do calisthenics. I do that all at home. But 2 or 3 times a week, I go to the gym. And then if I have more time, I'll go do Muay Thai or MMA. Um, but you, you don't, yeah, you're right. You don't need a gym. But we're talking about the average person who probably doesn't have much experience working out beyond high school physical education. So they don't, at Planet Fitness or other gyms, you have personal trainers. You have the circuit training routines, or you can go with friends. Because another thing that's going to keep people motivated is going somewhere where they see other people working out as well. That's external motivation. Like not everyone is internally motivated. Like I'm internally motivated. I don't need someone to to I don't need to ask someone to go to the gym with me to be motivated. Like my friend, he always needs someone to come with him to go to the gym to be motivated. I don't need that. I'm I work because I work out to feel good. I don't work out to lose just to lose weight. So I don't need that external motivation. But for people who need external motivation, a gym is a great place, is because it fosters an environment of fitness. Austin Women says, yeah, no slut time. He said I went there. I was going for a swim, and these fat white guys chilling in the corner, probably touching each other belly buttons. He said my grammar, my bad. He said so I went to the tub and there was some chubby girls and like one fat guy in the tub, and I'm pretty sure they were making the bubbles, so I left. Ew. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't really deal with the private gyms. Like I said, I just go to Planet Fitness. Like I don't. I'm not in the gym every day to need a private gym. Planet Fitness is just fine for me. Plus, there's so many different locations where I live. Like there's literally two off of Route 40 where I live. One down Catonsville, which is where I live. The other one all the way down Ellicott City, which is still close by. Or I can go farther up Ricerstown, or I can go into the city. It's like a bunch of them, so it's convenient. Officer says, plus we got our own gym in the police department. Yeah, I would figure you would. But yeah, getting back to the women though, yeah, it's they, like I said, the sense of entitlement they have kind of is it 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 take it. How do I want to put it? The entitlement is motivates them not to do better. I'll put it that way. Because as long as desperate men fuck them, they think that they're attractive, and they don't realize that men don't have to find you attractive to fuck you. They don't get that. Um, and also, if they already come from a lower socioeconomic background, that's going to be another problem because they probably going to live somewhere where they have less access to healthy food, and they're they're going to live in places where it seems the norm to be unhealthy. So, um, Luna says I had my fair share of women, and I'm not down bad enough to sleep with Shaquille O'Neal. Right, but I'm saying there are guys like that though. Like like I said, if you come to, I'm pretty sure you've been to Baltimore before, Lumen. But if not, I've heard a lot of people say Baltimore is like Brooklyn, but I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But look, there's a lot of unattractive women in Baltimore, so despite a lot of these women being objectively ugly, I'm just gonna keep it real. Despite the fact that a lot of these women are objectively ugly here in Baltimore, there are still a lot of men who will fuck them. And these same fat, ugly women have like several kids. And the funny thing is, they all have kids by the same guys. Because the same small pool of men, the same Pookies and Ray Rays, are the ones sleeping with all the same ones. Where most of the guys who aren't attracted to them are the ones leaving the black community, going to smash Becky, going to smash, going to going to smash Maria, and going to smash Shang Mei. But I'm about to get ready to go, man. It's about been like 2 hours. It's late. It's like 2 plus in the morning. So I definitely want, but I'm gonna definitely try to start doing these earlier throughout the week. All this week, I'm gonna try to do my live streams a little bit earlier. Like try like around 8 or 9 if when I'm not at the gym. When the days I'm at the gym, I'm gonna try to do them like at 8 9 p.m. like I used to, instead of like at midnight, and see if I can catch more people in the chat room. so I don't have guys talking about streamed on a poop because that was just weird. I and he got mad at me for calling him out on it, and I was like, dude, if anything, you should be glad I didn't time you out for that, or just outright just ban you from the channel. I said I'm gonna take that as a mistake, but don't don't try to defend something that's indefensible and say you just made a mistake. This is like um this is like Shannon Sharp claiming he accidentally put on Instagram live when he was fucking the chick, knowing damn well you can't accidentally turn on Instagram live. you can't you can't accidentally turn on Instagram live while you having sex. Like that doesn't happen. You had to turn it on. You had to hit like three different things before you go live on Instagram. And like ain't no way that was a mistake. I was telling him, say yes, I have for a short time. All right, bro. Well, I'm out, man. Appreciate it. Um, I'm gonna catch you tomorrow if you're free. But I'm out. Philly is the worst. Yeah. So that's what I said, Lumen. I was saying I've said this on previous videos and live streams. Actually, I did a YouTube short, and it I did a magic. It got so many comments because obviously people agree with me because I said the cities with the most unattractive women in the country. I said was Baltimore, Philly, and Detroit. Those are those three cities objectively have the ugliest women. And then a bunch of people agreed, or they were saying no. The, they started naming other cities where the women are really ugly. Like I think someone was naming places like St. Louis, places in New Jersey, some other places down south, and but yeah, Philly, Philly is known for some ugly women too. Trust me, I know. I used to live in Philly for a little while too. Baltimore is, and so is Detroit. He said, "Okay, man, I gotta go. Got a hella paperwork. See you." All right, bro. Take it easy. We'll we'll chop it up tomorrow. All right. All right. Later, bro. Thank you to everyone else.